So California is home to a little company called Tesla. Well, I mean, at least that's where they were founded. That's where they started, and that's where their operations still are in large part. And California is also home to the biggest and most fun Tesla Takeover event that's been going on for a few years now. So we're going to have a quick chat with John from Silicon Valley Tesla Owners Club and get all the skinny on what's the past and what's coming next. I'm Brian. Welcome to my Tesla weekend. John, thanks for joining us. How are you, man?
Thanks for having me. Always a big fan of your channel and glad to be here.
Well, I appreciate that coming from you because you've got a fantastic podcast. For those who haven't checked it out, you should. And if you haven't seen John's interview with Elon himself, check that out. I'll pop a link in the description because it's pretty awesome.
And people will look back on the internal combustion car era as a strange time,
Yeah,
quaint,
quaint. Yeah,
quaint, and quaint and just weird, basically.
I mean, he gave you so much time, and you absolutely used it well. Thank you. So, yeah, let's start with a quick background. Tell us about the history of the Tesla takeover, and then we'll talk about where it's going next.
Yeah, of course. So the Tesla takeover, as we all know it, is actually the one of the largest events, if not the largest event in all of North America, if not the world, to bring the Tesla community together. And the history started actually when Tesla, or sorry, when Tesla announced the largest supercharger in the world at the time, which was Fireball. It had about 60 stations, and so we actually worked with one of the clubs from Southern California called Tesla Club SoCal, Marty, and we wanted to do a California-wide event, just meeting at the supercharger, take it over, bring the community together. And this was actually one of the first events kind of coming out of COVID. So long story short, we went there. We had probably about over 100 cars literally in the middle, like driving to the middle of nowhere. And it was just so cool to see so many owners, probably 200 plus owners, just coming together. And we were like, why don't we just do this on a bigger scale, 10x this, and really just bring people in the community together under our passion and love for Tesla. And so that's kind of the journey. That was in, I think it was February of 2021. And fast forward, we've now had three Tesla takeovers, and actually it's transitioning into the X takeover, which is pretty crazy, but we can get into that. So that's kind of how it started. That's the origin story.
And these events are, if you haven't been, and you're part of the Tesla community in any way, you've seen the footage, you've seen my footage, you've seen Dirty Tesla, Bearded Tesla, you've seen Sandy's coverage, you've seen Farzad's coverage. Everybody's there, and it's as a guest at the event, you will see some great exhibitors. You'll see some amazing speeches. May Musk spoke at the last one. That was amazing. And then there was a meet and greet where a lot of people, not everyone because the line was too long, got to meet May Musk. And everybody there is on the same page, is on the same mission, is pulling in the same direction. And if you haven't been to one, you got to get to one because the speakers are there. I mean, it's everything.
Yeah, I would say it's the who's who of the Tesla community is there. You mentioned a lot of people. We've had Kim Java, Andy Sly on top of all of that. And we're gonna continue to just build this out more. And partially that actually goes into like what we're going to be up to next year. We didn't want to. I think you yourself potentially are big into space as well, and it's one of those things where you start in the Tesla world and then you slowly start to get into the space world. And I think a lot of our owners were coming and they're like, hey, we would love to see SpaceX a part of this. And so that's partially why we are next year kind of transitioning the Tesla takeover into X takeover, which means everything. And that means that Tesla's going to be there, SpaceX is going to be there as far as like the topics and the influencers and the speakers. But yeah, it's going to be all the things that you mentioned, right? We're going to have, last year we had over 60 exhibitors, all like, Tesla accessories, companies in the space, camping accessories, Cyberlander was there. Like, I mean, just pretty much anything you could geek out on Tesla will be there. We even had Unplugged Performance, who brought their performance cars, which are taking Tesla cars to the next level as far as like on the racetrack and even at like Pikes Peak and other places like that. And then we have like a whole kids zone, coloring, photography, drawing, a huge area for kids to just hang out. There's even bikes that they were able to drive. Stasik was there. And also a huge other aspect to the event is actually the e-mobility side. So Arcimoto has been there in the past. You're able to ride electric scooters, bikes, and other things like that. So it's kind of like it's got a different vibe than Electrify Expo just because it's very Tesla specific. And obviously we have a lot more speakers, but we also do have a whole modified section for Teslas. So you can come and understand that Teslas can be modified. I think that's something that's like, oh, they all just look the same. It's like, well, you can come to this and see some of the best modified Teslas in the world in one spot. Next year is going to be exciting because we're going to have a whole modified section for Cybertruck. So, but yeah, that's a little
Wow.
bit about. uh,
If you were to try and list all the speakers, it would take up all the time we have. If you were to try and list all the exhibitors, it would take up all the time. Like you said,
exactly.
even last year you had robotics people there. Tesla themselves came out with solar demonstrations for people
Yes.
to look at and actually, for many people, for the first time, see what the solar tiles look like. And that's valuable in ways that most people will never get to. And it's great that you put it in the middle of the state, so it's kind of equidistant between LA and San
Exactly.
Francisco, but it's its own destination so that people are there for it. And I would say the biggest difference between your events and other events where I've spoken is that people really go to see the speakers. At the Detroit Auto Show, they had two different stages, and the audiences used it as a place to sit and rest, not to listen to this. They didn't care. We're not here for that. We want
Yep.
to see the concept cars that'll never be built, the flying cars. It's great to see the community being as engaged as they are. So, looking forward to the next one. Give us some sneak peeks. What is the full scope of it, and what
Yep.
kind of things can we look forward to?
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot that's going to be happening next year, and I think, I mean, I know, like this past year, if for those that attended this third year, this was really our hallmark event, or kind of when you went from like the minor leagues to the majors, as far as like being able to run a well executed event, just being able to. So that's why it's like now we have a great foundation to continue to just build on. And so next year, you're going to get a lot of the similar things, but it's just going to be a lot different and a lot more. We're going to be bringing more speakers. Also, we're going to be bringing in SpaceX influencers and speakers. We will be announcing some big speakers in January. It's really awesome to see. We already have both two keynote speakers, one on the SpaceX side and one on the Tesla side. So it's going to be just a Tesla executive along with a really I would say a pioneer slash astronaut kind of in the space on the space side. So it's just going to be really cool to have those speakers. And then I think our vendors, it's going to look a little bit different next year because we're going to have some space focus as well. So there's, more to come on that. But we're hoping to continue to just bring even more vendors to make the experience better, even better speakers, people that you listen to every day, right? And so this is just going to be a place for you to kind of just geek out on all things Tesla, all things space and SpaceX related items. And so hopefully that's a little tidbit, but without dropping the news.
Right. And we've got a little bit of time. Do you have the date picked?
Yeah, so it's July 27th through the 28th, 2024 in San Luis Obispo.
Yeah. And it's a little windy, but the weather is nice. And
Mhm.
there's plenty of hotels in the area. But if you're going and you need to go, might as well book now. You'll get the best
Yeah,
rates. And
exact.
wandering around these events, you see people, you see all your heroes just kind of wandering around just like you. It's so much fun.
Yeah, one thing I forgot to mention too is we have the Holly High Voltage Experience, which is also an opportunity for you to come out and really like drag race, potentially do some coursing with your Tesla. That was an aspect that we had as well last year. But yeah, it's one of those things where the Tesla community is big but small, and X has probably been one of the coolest places to meet new people and connect with people. And so when you come to a Tesla community event, whether it's actually like a launch event or a community event like this, where you don't need like special access to get in, because some of these the Tesla launch events you need a ticket and not everyone could get one, but these Tesla community events are great because it really allows just anyone to be able to come and connect with other people. I can't tell you how many people I've met, and they've met literally all their buddies that they've been talking to for years at these live events. And one thing I know you mentioned is that this event is in California, but it really has taken a level of its own where people from all over the world, our vendors even from all over the world are coming. We have tons of people from Europe, Asia, just coming to this event to really just connect under one amazing company and the amazing things that this company is doing. But obviously, we're broadening that with SpaceX as well.
It's going to be so much fun. One thing I enjoyed, a lot of people, and if you guys are coming, consider doing this as well. We'll get a shirt printed with their X logo, with their X username on it. So people can go, oh, because so many people use an icon or a picture of them that, it's this big. I don't recognize you from that. So if you're coming, maybe consider that. Put your X profile picture on there so people know to say hello, and see if they troll
Yeah.
you in real life. I don't know. Um,
That's
that's
always the funnest.
always a
But yeah, that's
possibility.
that's always important. I've actually had to tell people like tell me your X handle, don't tell me your name because like I won't recognize the name is just a piece of it versus the handle is typically what you see.
Right. Absolutely agree. I was talking with a gentleman in Texas recently for a good half hour, and then I introduced him to James Stevenson, and then he said his name. I'm like, you told me you were going to be here. I didn't know it was you, but it was,
Yeah.
he's like, I thought I introduced myself. But yeah, and these events are great. And then after the events end each day, people will cluster into groups and go to different restaurants and continue the
Exactly.
hangout. And you'll meet people, you'll make new friends, and it's so much fun.
Exactly. It was kind of some of these events, or at least the events that happen after the actual event, is similar to probably what happens in Austin during the launch events. There's a lot of bars, places to eat, and things, and people to hang out. So just connect with people that you've known for a while, and go hang out at a local spot, and patronize the small businesses there. But if you have been to a launch event, it's very much those little parties that kind of come together of like 5 to 10 people, maybe even sometimes 20. It's very much the similar vibe as that.
And you're going to meet people who are fans of other brands as well. There's Lightning people that'll be there and Lucid people that'll be there. And at the end of the day, we are all on the same mission. Some of us are just doing it a little better than others. But
Yeah, and with especially going from the Tesla takeover to the X takeover, as you remember, even last year we had a whole showcase of other EVs. So you had all of those brands. We even had Aptera there, which was really cool. It's the first like 1,000 mile range EV. And so it's one of those things where, we are embracing all EVs at the end of the day, obviously with a Tesla focus, and that's going to be the major themes. But at the end of the day, with the X takeover, it kind of means everything. So it's really more the ability to include others is just broadening now.
yeah. So, John, thank you so much for coming on. There's going to be a bunch of links in the description, and we will. I look forward to seeing you in July because that's the sort of thing I just don't want to miss. And in the comments, guys, what did we miss? What do we misunderstand? Smack the like, the thumb, all those good things. And for everybody else, stay tuned, stay juicy. And I can't wait to hear from you, clever robots, at the X Takeover.
Thanks for having me, Brian. I really appreciate being here.